This presentation is the conscious currency creation model. It follows on from the other two presentations that I've done. And again, we're starting off with a quote by Epictetus. Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. So what I'm going to be covering now is a complementary currency. It's inflation-proof and it's convertible. It can be converted into pounds, euros, dollars, whatever you want, and I'm going to explain that. It uses energy as a universal measure and denomination, so it is not linked to dollars or euros or pounds. It supports local sustainability. It supports local resilience and growth. It connects to the technologies that we're using and all of the things that we're doing on the community. And this produces a self-connecting model, a fractal effectively, based on contracts. And it covers the three requirements of money as defined by Jevon, who was the Bank of England governor in the 1800s, which is a medium of exchange. It's a way of exchanging between ourselves. It's a stable measure of value, and it's a method of saving. So, conscious currency creation is a concept connecting technology providers, communities, and people who want a better world. The technology providers need money to connect their technology to the people. And of course, if we have a demonstration area, we're providing the platform for that to happen. And the people need money to get the technology to become locally sustainable and live in abundance. So is this an intractable problem? The answer is no. If we have both people and technology, we have economy. And what I'm talking about is mega productivity. So how do we join them to make this work for everyone and to support our planet at the same time? Simple, actually. We make a currency and we use it to consciously connect communities and technology providers, helping them to create mutual abundance. So this is about a two-way flow of energy. We connect with the providers of paradigm-changing technologies, and we connect them with the people who need them, particularly the communities. So the key areas of connection are that results can be powerful if we connect the basics to make an integrated model for sustainability, resilience, and abundance. And this is now linking back to our surplus production in a local secure environment of food, water, waste, energy, healthcare, building materials, technologies, courses, seminars, art, etc., etc. So step one, the community needs to get together to create a currency. The notes are printed and denominated, which means that they're measured in joules, Joules. And joules are your universal measure of energy. You can measure the joules or the energy content of an apple, or the energy of dropping an apple 1 meter to the ground, or the energy in a gallon of petrol. Everything can be measured in energy. This is very important. It's making a connection between wealth and energy in our minds. And the representation of energy flow as being the money that we produce. So joules is a measure of energy, and it also makes the notes independent of central bank currency. And that means that they're much more stable than linking to the US dollar. If we link to the dollar and the dollar tanks, our currency is going to tank as well. Excuse me. The notes are now distributed to community members who sign them. This is important as well. It's going to validate them. So everyone is going to get the same number of notes. If you're a single mother and you've got 2 children, you'll get 3 stacks of notes because everyone is valued the same. But it's the signature that adds the validation to the notes. Our signature, if you've started to look at law, banking and finance, is the most valuable thing that we've got. It creates the documents that create things like mortgages and loans and stuff like that. And when we sign one of those documents, actually, we are creating money. Or rather, we're creating financial instruments which are balanced out by the debt instruments, the notes that come along with it. The notes are then going to go back to the co-owned organisation, something like a trust. And the benefit is divided equally among all the people in the community. Now the trust, if we want, can now add a hologram. And the hologram can be something that contains healing frequencies. So we can create a consciously healing currency through this methodology. And the trust is now in a position to connect to the technologies from the technology providers. And each technology provider makes a contract to accept, let's say, for example, between 10 or 50% payment in the complementary currency. Now, they'll all need a percentage, probably, of euros or pounds or dollars or whatever. But if they accept, say, 50% in the alternative currency, the community currency, then we've just halved the bill that we need to pay to those providers. But it's very important that we make a conscious plan to go into abundance so that we can actually create the surpluses to create the method of exchange back for those providers. So the aim here is a mutually beneficial relationship for both the provider and the community. So the community now goes ahead and it buys the integrated technologies according to our plan to support local resilience and sustainability. The food, the water, the waste, the energy, the healthcare, etc. And the community invests more than it needs because we need those surpluses to sell or to trade. In future, we may be able to gift them as well. But at the moment, we want conscious abundance. We want to create those surpluses because those dollars or pounds or euros in this case are going to be set aside to go back to the technology providers. So what happens is our costs have been reduced. The local outflows of legal tender, the euros, are reduced and then reversed to create income. And the surpluses can now be sold by the community. So the community becomes a centre where these advanced technologies are integrated in one place. We're not just going with energy, say, we're covering all of those bases. Why? Because everyone who comes in for a different reason is going to find more and more reasons that they want to buy things or exchange things or get involved with the community in some way or another. And that makes the community interesting to people from outside for a whole host of different reasons. The food, the cafe, the restaurant. And what we want to do is to consciously create that income coming in from outside in the form of euros. So the euro income goes to the trust, or at least a percentage of it does, and a percentage is set aside for the technology providers. That's going to be in a completely separate account. And that means the technology providers, when they're ready, can send back their energy currency, energy-denominated currency, and the trust can convert it to euros. The trust can now convert the euros to dollars, for example, and that means it can credit the technology provider's account, transferring the dollars to them. So that's how we do our mechanism of exchange from our complementary currency to cover the position of the technology providers. And in the meantime, we and they are sitting on an inflation-proof currency. So the community has benefits, and there are benefits for everybody. The community builds its capacity to move into abundance and resilience off the back of this integrated holistic plan. It has surpluses, top quality produce, and that creates the multiple income streams. And the technology providers benefit by having their technologies in a place with other leading technologies. So if I came in just wanting to look at the aquaponics, but I find that there's a free energy technology that can power it, what am I going to do? This is going to be rich in abundance for all sorts of reasons, for all sorts of people. So I think it's important that the community has a demo area for anyone interested in ecology, technology, sustainability, and abundance. We want to show them the whole lot and what's available. And if we do that, then they're very likely to engage with us, not just on one level, but on multiple levels. So, the community food, restaurant, demo area, etc. brings in people from outside. That's a conscious part of our plan. We're building relationships with people outside the community and possibly internationally as well. The technology providers now get a network to potentially hundreds of communities which become sales outlets, and depending on the complexity, even places that can manufacture and locally build that technology for them. They can become people who license sell licenses to manufacture the technologies locally as well. Or the community can even become co-developers of more technologies. Hey, we really like your aquaponics system, but we've got some suggestions as to how it can be improved. If we consciously spread the connectivity, the benefit, and we relate to other people in a way that we've got something that we want to do with them, then we are leveraging the co-creative process into a completely different level. It's not about us and them, it's about us, we, together. And if we do that, we can develop a potentially huge, diversified international market. That means that the technology providers don't have to try and build a major multinational or international organization to reach their market. If we create the right conscious bridges, structures and mechanisms that create mutuality between communities and technology providers, then the communities will spread the word. The model will spread itself. The model can connect to other communities. The currencies can flow between the communities. And if currency flows, then everyone becomes wealthy. We move into abundance. So anyone can join by setting up a community trust or by joining one. Each trust or communication or community organisation will have its own rules. There need to be some rules to govern this process so that everyone's expectations are met. And if we do that, we're all less dependent on currencies like dollars, pounds and euros. Very, very powerful. We also achieve local resilience in economy, which supports national and local well-being. You can imagine if hundreds or thousands of communities suddenly started doing this all over Germany. Everyone benefits. If the food chain or the logistics chain collapses, everyone's covered. There's a lot less stress and emphasis on national government for filling in gaps, when the problem is they're part of a system that is thoroughly dysfunctional and incapable of looking ahead and achieving long-term planning. So we do this by setting our intention on a win-win-win, local, national and environmental. So an energy-backed currency is inflation-proof for the people and for the technology providers. That's also really powerful. We've seen in this country and in other countries where hyperinflation has very, very suddenly and quickly taken off and devastated economies. The local people are encouraged to spend their currencies within the community. And the energy, in all of its ways and forms, is encouraged to connect ground up. And that includes, of course, the electricity production. But what we're doing is we're bringing to consciousness that everything, the food, the water, is all a function of energy. So we've got our plan, which is a building space for hydroponics or aquaponics. The capacity is 3 times the needs. The building can be geopolymer coated. The barn can be fitted out with aquaponic or hydroponic food growing. And we know we can produce probably 10 times more food compared to outside growing. And this is before we start to think about the leveraging in of the other technologies. We're talking about mega abundance here. And the technologies are layered for better results. Excuse me. We're talking about the energized water, the rock minerals, hydrogen-infused water we've not mentioned before. That has a very beneficial effect in terms of healing on people and plants and animals. Frequency stimulators for the plants and the fish. Now, we can also consider heating certain areas of the barn or cooling them in certain areas to create a variety of food-growing environments. And that means that we can cater for tropical food. We can even use things like compost. If we add wood chips to compost, then we can achieve 70 to 80 degrees of heat from a compost heap. That can make a shower if you run a hose pipe through it where the water is almost too hot to bear. So even very, very simple techniques like that can be used to create a tropical growing environment. We've got our shop, our eco-cafe restaurant, and all of the other areas now are coming in to play, leveraging the effect of this currency. So, anyone can join. This is all about connectivity. It's about putting all of these various elements together, not just for our own security, but also to create abundance in each area and something that helps the wider community outside, spreading the benefit. So what are the benefits of a currency? Local employment for starters. Lots more potential for jobs if people want to do them. It also creates local economic resilience. This is a well-proven concept. So if we go to places like America in the Great Depression, towns were creating their own scrip currencies, literally just pieces of paper, and using that as a currency. And those kind of places were completely unaffected by the Great Depression, which was devastating towns next door. And this has been demonstrated all over the world. We're less reliant on complex, vulnerable food logistics and storage chains for the basic necessities of life. At the same time, we're looking at greatly improved food quality and freshness. And actually, if numbers of communities do this, we're starting to create a diversified grid for food, water, waste, energy and healthcare, something that is very, very resilient. If there is a natural disaster at the moment and major power stations or transmission stations are taken out, people are going to be effectively in trouble. If it's all done locally, it's not a problem. So we can make a strong and long-lasting building environment as well. So how do the technology providers join? Very simple. There's an open contract and we have a model available. And basically the technology provider ticks a box to say they want to do this. And they decide on what percentages they can accept of this currency. There need to be some basic rules governing it, which is that you link the currency production to the projected production of your community for 3 years. So you build your plan and you stick to it. If you start to then inflate the currency by printing more, then we need to have a database that connects this together and says, hey, you know, you're manipulating the system. This is not good for other people. And they will devalue their currency. So they state the percentage accepted in energy-backed currency and fill in the contract accordingly. And they decide what they want to mutualize. Production, under license, selling, marketing and demonstrating products, co-development of future products, co-manufacturing of existing products. It's very simple and straightforward. So complementary currencies are proven. We've got the US towns in the Great Depression. There we go. We've got the names, New Bedford, Hawarden, the NDA, Valars. Curitiba in Brazil. That was a town that started to use plastic bus tokens. The local council decided it was going to pay people in bus tokens to clean up the town. What they ended up with was not just a clean town, which didn't have any waste or rubbish around. They ended up with the parents having these plastic bus tokens that they could travel more freely. And if they could travel more freely, it was easier for them to get work. And that boosted the local economy. So what they ended up with was an economy that over a period of time wasn't just more stable than the nearby states and towns, but it also grew much more rapidly. So this was good for the area, and if we do this across the countries, then it's good for the national economy as well. We've got the miracle of Virgil, is it, in Austria? Yeah, where a famous motor racing driver comes from. But in the 1930s, they were experimenting with a currency, and yes, it became a miracle because all of the other towns were devastated by hyperinflation. They were unimpacted by it. Their jobs, their money, everything kept on flowing. We've got the watt system in Japan. So complementary currency that runs alongside a national currency supports balance and growth in a local economy, even in a global depression. It's proven, hundreds and hundreds of cases. So what's new in this particular currency is that it uses universal energy as a measure of value. and as a method of inflation proofing, joules. And the beauty is anything can be measured in joules. It has a conscious connection to technology also at the same time, to connect and to spread the benefits the technology providers and enrich the community at the same time. It has a focus, a conscious focus again on local resilience and sustainability. That means that it integrates technology and it creates a win-win-win for the community, for the society as a whole, for the technology providers and for the environment. And we have some note designs even. These are created by Goa Labau. Goa Labau did all of the 3D graphics and animation for the Thrive movie, which has had millions upon millions of people viewing it, which is a truly excellent and inspiring piece of work showing all of the various solutions that are already in place. We just need awareness of them and the methodology to connect to them. So thanks to Goa, his website is liquidbuddha.com, and we've also got the URL for thrivemovement.com/the_movie. It's well worth looking at if you haven't seen it. So here are our note designs. These are using natural fractals, which is the reflected photographs of nature, showing the patterns of nature, and sacred geometry coming in as well. So we've got 33.3 megajoules there, we've got a number on the note, we've got a scanner ability, and we've got a place to place a hologram and for people to actually sign the note into validity. There's the back of the note, and this is using Mikey Weiberg's designs for mandalas coming from the Svenshögen community in Sweden. So we've got mandalas on the one side, again sacred geometry, patterns, nature, frequencies, all embedded in the notes. Now we've got the 100 megajoule note. This is a reflected picture of a tree covered in frost in winter. And again, we've got more sacred geometry overlaid by Goa. And we've got the back of the note, another mandala from Mikey. And I think you'll agree these are good looking notes. That's another thing. If we make really beautiful notes, the first people who do them will be able to appeal to note collectors. So people from outside will be willing to pay for these notes and put them in their collections. Brings in more money from outside to help to kickstart the community. Now we have a picture of ice on a window which has been reflected. 200 megajoules. And the back of it, now the flower of life emerging. And the various natural energy patterns overlaid by Goa. The front, we have a natural fractal of water, in this case, in a stream. So it's all back to patterns, fractals, waves, resonance, frequencies. That's the thing that we want to embed with these notes. And the hologram is going to give it a frequency as well. Holograms, for example, are being used on fuel tanks of cars to help to break down the long fuel chains of petrol and of diesel. So just a simple hologram on a vehicle can help you to get more mileage and cleaner emissions. Another mandala from Mikey on the back of the 400 megajoules note. The 1000 megajoules note, that's the fractal of a fire. And the back, another mandala. 2000 megajoules. This is a tree now reflected on water. So we've got the tree fractal and we've got the water fractal coming together. (3,000 megajoules). This is a tree now in spring covered in blossom. And for your further research, if you're interested, Bernard Lietaer, the father of the euro, is a complementary currency specialist. He's at Lietaer.com. And what Bernard did was he blew the whistle. He said the euro is designed to fail effectively. He tried to warn the European Central Bank. They wouldn't listen. And now he's a super spiritual, conscious guy, great all-round guy. And he's been creating and setting up complementary currencies all around the world with great success. Paul Kemp Robertson has a great TED talk also. Exeter University also has some research on alternative currency systems, and that's the URL for that. And ending again with a few quotes. So, P.T. Barnum, money is a terrible master, but an excellent servant. I think the difference is the consciousness that we bring to the money. And two quotes from E.F. Schumacher, who wrote the book Small is Beautiful. Wisdom demands a new orientation of science and technology toward the organic, the gentle, the elegant and beautiful. And economic ambitions are good servants. They are bad masters. Thank you very much.